All right, everyone. This is David Morgan from themorganreport.com, and we have a wonderful Monday, nice and bright with snow on the ground here in Washington State, and the famous at this point in time, John Perez. And we are going to delve into Silver Psyop number 3. So, John, the floor is yours.
Okay, we're gonna make this one quick to the point, and it's gonna just make it clear for everyone. Because if we can go down the rabbit hole, everyone gets lost, and we'll make it simple. Because judging by, I've gotten so much feedback from thousands and thousands of people who've said they've watched the Crypto Conspiracy. Thank you all for watching on Telegram, and all the people that came from Mike Adams, Natural News, Brighteon, and the Morgan Report. You guys have been awesome, and people are awake. I'm gonna say that cryptocurrency series is probably responsible for about $250 million in sales of crypto, and it's been added to the silver markets. Some of the people have contacted me have had some big positions in crypto and Bitcoin and have made adjustments based on the work that we put out, David. So it's been great. And one thing I did realize, though, as I was getting these emails, is it was actually fueling the fuel for what I believe what is called the silver psyop, the double barrel psychological operation on silver investors and Bitcoin investors. So it's been an eye opener, to say the least. But today, what I wanted to do on number 3 was just pretty much get down to the old school, the classic 5 W's: the who, what, when, where, and why. The who, what, when, where, and why. We're going to answer those 5 questions. The question is going to be, okay, John, Silver Psyop, who's doing it? The second question, Silver Psyop, what is it? And then the third one, when, which we've watched it happen over the last 10 years. It's unfolded now. So now it's much easier to identify. If I'd have said this 5 years ago, people would have just not even considered it. Where? Worldwide, but primarily focused on the US. And then the why, the big question of why. And then at the end, it'll be like a summary. So I'm going to go straight through them. I'm going to kind of buzz through them. So everyone hang on. If you haven't watched the crypto conspiracy, be sure to go to David Morgan Report on YouTube and watch the series, and you'll really get this a lot here, because that is one operation. Now I'm going to go into the second part here. Another part of this is going to be the silver suppression. I think there's been 1 million videos done by some very qualified people on silver suppression and manipulation. Those of us that have been in the business for many years, we know it, we see it, and we're aware of it. And if you're for big traders, you just work with it. You work with it. You can't. There's no sense throwing rocks at spaceships in the sky, stealing gold and silver. Okay, so the first question is who would be doing the silver psyop? So let's frame the silver psyop what I said it is. What is it? The silver psyop, in my opinion, is this. It goes back to 2008, which is what? That was the year that Obama became president. Okay, this is very important. Obama started his first term in 2008. Okay, now, for those of you people in the conspiracy world, especially in the Q conspiracy world, or I should say the Q conspiracy factual world, in 2008, Obama's first term came on board. Remember? 2008. Well, that was the same year. I thought the Bitcoin white paper came out in 2009, and it was Kurt Wuckert in one of our videos, number 14, who said the white paper came out in 2008. I thought, wow, that's interesting. They came out in the same year. Okay, so we've got basically a 14-year span there from 2008 to 2022, and there's a terminology in there. There's a period of time that it takes for a psychological operation to go through full force. Is approximately about a 14-year period where you've got an established mass formation psychosis here. And I took from that theory that Joe Rogan had Dr. Malone on, who took it from another doctor. Someone corrected me and sent me the information. Said it was with Dr. Desmet in Europe. And I did some research on that very quick, 14 years 14 years was pretty much a framework where they looked where you could establish this mass formation psychosis. So many people have been in some sort of, whether it's 9/11, I believe that we saw airplanes hitting buildings there, and some people don't believe that. There are some people, you just mentioned that, and something else happened to that. They just simply, their minds go full fluoride blank. They just don't see it. And there's some would argue that we know there's a debate here on this, and some of us already know the answer to that debate, but there are some that are still stuck in that paradigm of mass formation psychosis that was perpetrated on them. And we've had architects for truth and engineers, everyone has come out and have proven their case out there. So this is part of it. Just bear with me. It's going to take a little bit here. So 2008, Obama comes in to office. We've got white paper, Bitcoin comes in 2008. We've got silver and gold just really starting to take off into the second bull market at that time. We've got mass formation psychosis, which we recently learned about. And while I was reading about it, 14 years to establish what I would call MFP. Some people call different names for it. So 14 years into that mass formation psychosis. Well, we're already 14 years into gold and silver. And now we're at a stage where you've got the silver apes. You've got this group of people here, of hardcore silver investors who are, you notice that the media never talks about silver. You don't go on CNBC and say, what are they going to say about silver today? No, if you want to hear about silver, you come to Telegram. You come to listen to David Morgan. That's where the media doesn't talk about silver. Why is that? That's part of the who, what, when, where, why. So media is blacked out on silver and the purposes for silver. What else does the media not cover? The media doesn't cover all the lawsuits and all the spoofing, all of these cost of doing business offenses where large banks are accused of and found guilty of spoofing markets. But of course, these are banks. They get to borrow free money from the Fed. So, a bank says, hey, you're going to get fined $5 billion or $1 billion, whatever they say it is. The bank just says, oh, crap, we're getting $1 billion fine. How are we going to pay this? Well, it's really simple. Just pick up the phone and call up Powell and tell us to send us the fine money. Powell, we got fined $1 billion. We need $1 billion. How about 2? Okay. All right. There's cost of doing business. There's suppression in a nutshell right there. So so we've got 14 years of suppression. This goes back. You can go back. 2008, silver suppression, do everything from 2008 to 2022, and you'll find it all. It's right in front of you. So for those of you that are confused about silver not going anywhere, all you need at this point here is patience and understanding here, because the argument has already been made that there's a force out there to take away from the power of silver. And it's been going on since the Act of 1873, when they demonetized silver. After Grant became president, signed the Act of 1871, sold off the United States as a corporation to the British, and then came the Act of 1873, the crime of the century, where they demonetized silver. So this is not a recent event. This goes all the way back to 1873. So lots there to talk on. I'm framing here for you. Now we're going to come down to a couple things here. Now I'm going to put together the piece. So you see the scenario on silver. This has been an ongoing psyop for many, many years, and that's why it's so effective. The mass formation psychosis theory of 14 years has been going on now for over 100 years with silver. And now we fast forward, what came in and basically came in at the last minute here. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin coming in 2008, why this is an important date to remember. The same year that Obama became president, there's a theory out there, there's talk, there's discussion. It's on different discussion boards. You'll never see this stuff on YouTube, but you'll see it on Brighteon, Mike Adams' channel. You'll see it on BitChute. You'll see it all over Telegram and all kinds of other alternative sources. There's talk out there about the 16-year plan to destroy America. The 16-year plan to destroy America. If that plan started in 2008, then we are what? We are 14 years into that plan. 14 years from 2008. 14 years from Bitcoin 2008. 14 years of hardcore suppression of silver. Also at the same time, the same people that were guilty for suppression in silver are actually the same people accumulating silver. JP Morgan. This is so I have framed a lot there. You may want to go back and take notes. I'm trying to give it in bullet points there for you. So now I'm framing the silver story. People looking at this, you're like, wait a second here. There is something framing here. I always look at things from 100-year perspectives. You know, it's like charting. People look at them, looking at the weekly, the daily, 200-day moving average. You know, 5-year chart. One of my favorites, the 40-year silver cup and handle. You hear that? The 40-year silver cup and handle. Make sure you look at that chart. But in this case here, going back to 1871, 1873, the demonetization of silver. And then remember, it was in 1963 that it was JFK who came forward and worked on Executive Order 1110, which came and went very quickly. And then things changed. Okay, so now I just gave a list of different items here. And I'm going through my notes. We're going to keep it really simple. We see the silver Psyop. But John, you said silver Psyop includes Bitcoin. How did you connect the two? I'll tell you how. First, it's important to remember, I'm going to give just a shortened quote from it. It was JP Morgan himself who said, gold is money. Everything else is just credit. Okay, remember that. It was JP Morgan who said, gold is money and everything else is just credit. That's why I use the channel, Silver is Money. You know, and everything else is, I haven't made that part. I just said silver is money. JP Morgan said gold is money. Well, if gold is money and there's a gold silver ratio, then silver by default for the street person, for the man on the street, the poor man's gold, silver is money. And that's where Telegram came from.
John, let me just stop you there. Sorry to wreck your train. Well, I know I don't wreck your train of thought.
That's okay.
But, you know, I want to just emphasize that silver's been money, and I've said this 100 times, but here's 101. Silver's been money more places, more often, and more transactions than gold ever has. I mean, if you go back and study monetary history and want to stick to the facts, don't whine, it's true. The facts are that silver has been money much more often, many more transactions, longer time frame. And the best monetary system so far in the human experience has been really a bimetallic or trimetallic standard. The only problem with the bimetallic standard in most cases is rather than let the market determine what the correct ratio is, there's a set ratio, which is demand should not interfere with basic economy. So true free market works the best, which means that silver's gold ratio could determine itself, but that's usually not the case, and it's set in a certain way, and that will make gold more precious or silver more precious. One other comment before we move on. You mentioned the crime of 1873, which I've done several times. There is a movie by Bill Still called The Secret of Oz, and I'm pretty sure you can find that on YouTube for free. I've met Bill once at a gathering in Utah where the governor of Utah signed into law that anyone in Utah could exchange gold and silver for any goods or service as long as both parties agreed. It was quite a kind of a monumental moment, but not really too much took place from then on in that realm. And I won't go into that. I don't want to go too far off of, you know, your presentation. But the Secrets of Oz and silver, without a doubt, if you're open-minded and just look at the facts, it's been money much more often than gold has. So it is money. In fact, the word silver and the word money is synonymous. It's the exact same word in all the Romance languages. So if you look at Italian, Spanish, any of the Romance languages, the word. So if you told someone in Mexico or Spain that money isn't money, and plata no es plata, it's like silver is not silver. Silver isn't money. They look at you cross-eyed. But the North American people have this affinity that they know everything. And they take 5% of the world's population in the U.S. and they exclude 95% of the population and think that that's how the whole world thinks. It really is one of my pet peeves. So I'm going on and on. I'm going to give it back to you, John.
Well, you know, you're the expert when it comes to silver history and money. Here I am kind of rambling through here, and I'm glad you stepped in because a lot of people don't know that history, and maybe we'll find those links and put them in the description. I did watch this part of this Bill Still video this weekend. So funny you said that. And then regarding the ratios, I believe I heard Keith Neumeyer say in a presentation recently that silver was coming out of the ground either at 7-1 or 9-1 out of the ground, and here we are at 78-1. So there's so much there, but of all people, you know, silver. I mean, it was you're the one that got me into this silver game back in 2005 here. So yeah, I the silver history thing. Someone else gave me a story about silver in a battle. I think it was the Dutch. Some great history on silver. I think I encourage everyone to spend days, weeks just reading about the history. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day nuances of silver going up and down, because a lot of times sometimes I see some of these arguments about what silver is happening to silver on a day-to-day basis with economics as fake. It's really a distraction from just buy it, store it, and stay diversified with your actions and your activities here.
I want to just put in one more thing. I know you got notes, so I can't really distract you. So there was a time, I forget what the war and the dates were. Sorry, folks, I'm getting older, but it was India. And the soldiers in India would not accept their scrip. They would only accept silver. So there it was. I mean, you couldn't wage your war any further unless you paid in real money, or what I would call real money. And another one is the nation states of like Venezuela, Turkey, and now Mexico, where food inflation is rampant. I mean, basically, you know, you can't eat silver. I understand that. But in some of those places, if you don't have silver, you can't buy food. Or let's say it's the preferred way to buy food. And so I'm just reaffirming, revivifying what John just said, that, you know, don't get too hung up on the daily chart or the weekly chart. When you look at the history of silver, that it was vital to your well-being, your family's well-being. Is it going to be the case in the future or not? Well, in the U.S., you take that 5%, of course not, because we know everything and 95% of the world doesn't exist, then you might have that attitude. But if you are savvy at all, a world traveler or study history, you'll know that people in Venezuela have silver are damned happy. Same thing in Turkey, and I will soon say Mexico. So I just want to get that in there because these are hard, factual elements that are right now, right here. And yet some of the silver community even are oblivious to them, and it is part of the story. You know, it's not to get the biggest stack, although I like stacking, I have, and I recommend it, but it's what is its usefulness. And when it gets down to it, if we get into an inflationary mode where you don't want to accept fiat for your silver, and there's a run to, let's say, all these people that have stored vast amounts and they're going to move it to a different storage facility because they don't trust one of the banks that's been purportedly holding their silver, charging them storage fees and it doesn't exist, or they want to make sure that it does. Or you could have a bank run without anyone ever buying another ounce.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That is crazy. I think part of the problem here is that the Department of Education doesn't teach about money. They teach you about credit and filling out job applications. Being an entrepreneur, real money, real history. This is part of the mass formation psychosis is the actual education system. I mean, look at the multi-trillion or trillion-dollar school debt system or systematic problem. They took millions of kids and educated them right out of their common sense and into a debt pit. You know, I went to school to get debt. Now, I'm not against education. I'm all for it. But what did they pay for? I mean, look at the results. People are out now. People are going back saying, "Wow, I should have learned a trade." Yeah, learn trades. I mean, welding, mechanics. Come on, it's like things break. You got to fix it. You know, I mean, if you've got a degree in animal psychology, then you might get a job at a zoo, or you just might be, running a farm, which would be wonderful. Love farmers, but the education system has not taught about money. And when I went to the Comstock Lode on a trip up there, it was about a 3-week trip. I spent the entire day working with a gentleman who took me through the Carson City Mint And just looking at the history in there, I was blown away by these tremendous, and it was now a museum, the tremendous silverware settings for, I believe it was the USS Nevada battleship. And they had settings out there. It was magnificent amounts of silver used. It was really just breathtaking to see. And just, the Carson City Mint Museum is worth taking a trip through. I went through that trip and spent a couple hours there, and I got a good VIP front row seat to go in areas where people couldn't go. And it was really fascinating to see. It was almost like I'm in a time travel warp here of silver as money, and silver being a part of everything, the minting, the coinage, how it was used in on the battleships. I was really surprised. The USS Nevada had so much silver on there. It was part of their, if there are any problems, it was supposed to be used as money in the problem. So this stuff is hidden. You probably don't, there should be documentaries on this, but there's not. So to me, the education system is part of the mass formation psychosis problem, as well as part of the silver psyop, and that is to get people's eyeballs off the real shiny object, which is silver, which is the real shiny object, and onto other things, whether it's debt, credit, consumerism. Mass consumerism is a problem. If people are spending more than what they have. Imagine coming out of school with $200,000 in school debt. Then you get a job and you get a credit card. You're like, wow, I want to get some new clothes. And like, well, I still have that $100,000 debt. And then of course the media is hitting you, buy. Here's the latest, the greatest, and you've got the debt just piles on more and more. So I think that getting people in debt is a sure way of keeping them out of silver and gold. No doubt about that. So. Okay, let me get back here on the silver scenario here. So back framing that scenario, 2008 Obama, 2008 Bitcoin white paper here. 14 years for mass formation psychosis to kick in. We're in the 14th year, 2022. 16 years for the Destroy America plan, the plan to destroy America, starting in 2008, ending when? 2024. That plan, though, was supposed to have Obama the first 8 years and Hillary the second 8 years. And that's where things went wrong in 2016 for the people that had plans that were basically disrupted. And now they're literally falling apart. You can see COVID comes in. Now you see Trump comes in. What does he say? The videos will be on here. We'll post the video up here in a minute. Trump came out. He was the only president that came out and said Bitcoin is not real and Bitcoin is a scam. He said it, and he said it very clearly. He said he wanted to have the U.S. currency to be the number one currency in the world. Well, some people say, well, that's just fiat, John. Why would, of course he wants the dollar. He's one of them. It's like, well, do you want Bitcoin to be the coinage of the world? No. I mean,
my opinion is that with the currency of this world should be the dollar. And I don't think we should have all of the Bitcoins of the world out there. I think they should regulate them very, very high. But the currency should be the dollar. And when you have things like that out there, Stuart, what happens is you really lose something. It takes the edge off of the dollar and the importance of the dollar. Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar.
What did John McAfee say? John McAfee said it's a surveillance and tracking device. And I agree with McAfee. He's absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's a tracking surveillance device that was put together. We showed in the cryptocurrency, put together in its original forms. You can find the genetic DNA goes back to Jeffrey Epstein, Epstein Island, all his friends like, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, we've gone through that in the crypto conspiracy. So now we've got all these pieces in the puzzle together. As we were doing the crypto conspiracy, what got me, and once again, this is the big name, JP Morgan, who said gold is money, everything else is just credit. Fast forward, who's running JP Morgan? Jamie Dimon. And who's the banker for Jeffrey Epstein, one of the original guys at Bitcoin? Go to Cointelegraph, read the interview, type in Jeffrey Epstein, billionaire, Cointelegraph. All the Bitcoiners and crypto guys out there, all the Bitcoiners promoting on YouTube, they all quote Jeffrey Epstein. They read his script. Jeffrey Epstein left the script on Cointelegraph, I believe in 2017. If you read that script and you layer it on top of people promoting Bitcoin, you realize, oh my gosh, you're quoting and promoting the same script that Jeffrey Epstein left for them to use, which they are now using effectively. Okay, so just laying out this big picture. I know it's a big picture. Stay with me. We're flying at 100,000 feet and we're looking back, time traveling back to 1871. Fast forward to 2008 to 2024, minus 2 years. 2 years until the end of the 16-year plan to destroy America. And what's happening right now in 2022? I mean, we're going to have 3 DEFCON 3 nuclear threat situations coming up. Bombs move markets. These markets are going to move not on what any analyst says or someone says this or who's shorting this or how many contracts they said. Bombs move markets. All you got to do is look at what happened after the Civil War when they demonetized silver. After all that silver came out of the Comstock Lode, they monetized it. They were using it to pay for the Civil War. The Civil War ends, and then Lincoln is assassinated, and coin is demonetized. Don't think those were just random events. Those were all well orchestrated. So now here we are. How do you connect, John, Bitcoin with silver? The silver Psyop. This is where it is right here. We're going to go through now that you've got this picture. When did Bitcoin come in? 2008. When did Obama start? 2008. Who took over? I believe Bear Stearns was taken over, I think, in 2008. Who took it over? Big short position. JP Morgan. Who worked at Bear Stearns? Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Who's Jeffrey Epstein's banker? Jamie Dimon. Go to Wall Street on Parade. We've shown this here. Plenty of evidence out there. Front page of New York Times says they had a 15-year relationship. 15. 1 year. More than 14. Fast forward 2022, we have mass formation psychosis regarding COVID. And it was that COVID that I looked back and said, wow, wait a second here. Never heard this before. I applied it here. So what we have now here, you can draw a chart for 2008, draw a little chart. There's a line, 2008 to 2024, and type in, write in 2022. From 2008 to 2022 is 14 years. Silver here is for a 40-year cup and handle chart here. Bitcoin has gone to the moon and now is crashing now. It's coming down here. I believe Bitcoin, the same people that crushed silver, who was running the CFTC when silver got crushed? The same person running the SEC today, Gary Gensler. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Where was Gary Gensler between 2008 and 2022? Follow that. That will tell you much right there. It's right in front of you. 2008 to 2022, we had Bitcoin just getting started and silver starting to go up. And then all of a sudden it crashed. Silver literally to the bottom fell out. And then Jamie Dimon, banker for Jeffrey Epstein, began a massive accumulation process that's gone on for years. Anybody out there can go out there and type in JP Morgan hoard of silver. It's like, wait a second here. So silver crashes and it's being accumulated, and then what comes up? And then Bitcoin comes up here. So why? What are one of the whys as to why? Why would you say, John, that Bitcoin is part of a bigger plan? I said, first of all, I've worked with people that know how this whole operation came together. This has been my experience working in the finance and silver and gold world. As Bitcoin started going up, silver just crushed, and silver went through a what? It was a 10-year, literally, you know, it was the Job of the Old Testament Job, who was wiped out for 7 years. Silver people were wiped out for 10 years. And what were they suffering from? Mass formation psychosis. You could talk to anyone in 2020, before the Silver Ape showed up. You could talk to anyone in 2020 and say to them, you got to think about investing in silver. And Dave, you know this as good as anybody else. Silver is a shit investment. I've sat on it for 8 years. It hasn't done shit. So, okay, next person. It's the same thing. Silver's a shit investment. It's going nowhere. I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm buying cryptocurrency. This is ongoing. Then you had the drop gold propaganda. The same people that were involved with the Jeffrey Epstein group here, MIT, Harvard. You had the drop gold propaganda. Then you had all of them giving the same propaganda that Jeffrey Epstein gave. And then it pretty much showed up. I thought, wow, this is a psychological operation. And when I say Psyop, I'm not talking about people in a boardroom putting something together, because I'm going to say this. Most of the people that are stuck inside the silver mass formation psychosis operation, they don't even know that they're involved with it. I just know that silver's not working and cryptocurrency is making money. And if you print money and you put in someone's account for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, guaranteed they're not going to walk away from that. They're stuck hook, line, and sinker. Well, silver's gone nowhere, John. Well, why is that? I don't know. It just is not going anywhere. Well, I do know, and that's why that's why I've not been at all. Nothing distresses me about the silver manipulators, because I've actually made money off of it. They created, back when 2006, 2005, 2007, there was great volatility. They weren't doing what they were doing now. It wasn't executed until 2008. So if you hear me talking in my videos, I'll talk about, well, the good old days, 2006, 2007, we'd get 65 cent, 85 cent, 25, 45, $1.25, $2 moves in silver. Those were the days, especially if you had a couple million ounces of silver in the market and it moves up 85 cents, $1.50. That's a lot of money. It can happen in a couple hours here. Now, fast forward, there's no movement in silver. Silver's up 10 cents. Silver's down 5 cents. It's just, people are looking at it, and newbies are looking at this and they think that's normal. This is not normal. This is part of the psychological operation of making sure that you punish silver holders, do not reward them, maybe here and there throw a couple crumbs, but make that Bitcoin continue to go up. Well, what is the benefit to Bitcoin going up and silver being suppressed to a certain group of people? What is the benefit to Powell and the Fed, or Yellen for that matter? Wait a second, John, Powell and the Fed. Yeah. In one of my earlier videos on crypto conspiracy, I said that the Fed, the federal government, the regulators were in on Bitcoin. Well, how could I prove that? I don't need to prove it. It's pretty obvious here. They're coming after it now. I said they'd come out later. They let Bitcoin go for a number of reasons. It has its nefarious reasons, which we know are happening. It was Trump who came out and said Bitcoin was a scam and not a currency, which he's right about that. He will be correct on that one also. But there's something that Bitcoin has done that nobody has talked about. I've been aware of it. I've watched it. It's been extremely effective. And that is this. This is the invisible elephant in the room. The invisible elephant that only leaves a pile of elephant shit, but you can't see the elephant. That's what this is all about here. So how is the government trying to slow down inflation? And how are they trying to slow down the price of silver? You get a giant digital vacuum called Bitcoin, and they've sucked out trillions of dollars out of the market. You're going to hear this in the news soon. The Fed has to figure out how to reduce inflation. They're going to have to, everyone's saying the same. They're going to have to tighten money and slow down inflation by taking money out of the system. Well, I got news for you. They've been taking money out of the system. Where's it going? Well, some of it's probably going back to the U.S. Treasury. I'll say that, under a military operation, a sting operation. But there's also other nefarious groups out there taking money out of the system. Yesterday, an article came out that North Korea is sucking money out of the system using cryptocurrency and Bitcoin to create what? Nuclear weapons. How do you create nuclear weapons? Uranium. Where do you get uranium technology from? 1994, Bill Clinton, when he sent nuclear reactors to North Korea. How convenient. True story. Isn't that funny? So yesterday in North Korea, the paper's coming up, well, North Korea is scamming and taking money out of the system. It's like, wow. Bitcoin has been the greatest thing for the Federal Reserve and the greatest thing for sucking money out of the system here. Because now that it's out of the system, they're going to come tax it. They're going to come regulate it. They're going to come grab it. It indirectly sucked money out of, because if that wasn't coming in, where would all the money go into, David? If all the money that went into crypto and Bitcoin, crypto conspiracy, and was out, where would it would all be in silver and gold. That's where it would be right now, the alternative investment. So I'll pause there, let you interrupt there for a second. I know I just gave a lot there.
Sure did. Well, I think you covered the who, the what, the where, and the why. I think you've covered almost all of it. I don't want to cut you off. I've been making notes the whole way along. So let's examine, this giant vacuum cleaner, as you call it, that's sucking all this fiat away from the precious metals. First of all, I'll admit an error on my part. I mean, when the Bitcoin phenomena started, I knew it had some impact in the precious metals, but it's only been of late, in the last few years, that I've realized how much of an effect it had. Much more than I initially thought, sort of like the Wall Street silver guys, how much of an effect. And there I was a little more cognitive. I said, let's wait and see. Should have said the same thing about Bitcoin. But I did my last Morgan report just got published. The one prior to that, I did a quick study on how much fiat's gone into the cryptocurrencies. And what I discovered was, let's go back to basics, and let's go back to an honest money system, and let's go back to the bimetallic gold silver standard. I said, well, how many billionaires can you have on the planet? Well, if you go back to, it was 1947, I'm doing this from memory, but along that time frame, the Treasury held, I forget what it was, 6 billion ounces of silver. The point is, to be a silver millionaire, you'd have to have 1 million silver dollars, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm defining a millionaire in silver as having that disc, that constitutional dollar, that 0.77 fine ounces of silver as a dollar. And so you'd have to have 1 million of those, which is roughly 770,000 ounces. Is that right? It's 770,000. So it's not a million. So 1 million ounces would put you over a silver millionaire. It's 3/4 of that. So 770,000 ounces of silver. You are a millionaire in silver. And you can only have 5 of those on the whole planet, because all this silver that exists, you can't manufacture it out of thin air and make it a paper market. Oh, wait a minute. I digress. So in physical silver, you could have 5 billionaires. Well, right now, there's 2,200 plus billionaires on the planet, right? But in terms of silver, you can only have 5, and it really be less than that, because at current time, there isn't 6 billion ounces available. There's probably about half of that. So really, you could have about 2 or 3 silver billionaires. And that comes back to how scarce Bitcoin is, because that's all we ever hear about, right? It's only 21 million. You can't overinflate it. That's the most that can never be mined. A lot of it's been lost. And all those are valid facts. I will not argue a fact. But it's also a fact that Bitcoin is still sitting around, I don't know, look today, John, 35,000 per coin. And yet there's only maybe 2 or 3 billion ounces of silver available. So if you took a block of silver, the silver market's the commercial bar market, roughly 1,000 ounces. There's only 1/10 as many of those as there is Bitcoin. That's 1/10 as many. That's how rare the silver market is. So you have 21 million ounces of Bitcoin, 21 million Bitcoin, and maybe 2 billion silver blocks, or 2 billion ounces, which divided by 1,000 is 2 million. So 1/10 the amount. And that's 25,000 each versus 35,000 each. So it's cheaper to buy a bar of silver. So I digress. A couple other quick ones. I made some notes. One is on 2020 silver. You said, that people were disgusted, and they've been disgusted pretty much from the high of 2011. But 2020, actually, silver was the best performing asset of all asset classes, not counting the cryptos.
That's true.
So that's just a point of fact. The other thing is, at the beginning, you mentioned our friends from, Mike Adams, and we've left out Mel Hosherick from
oh, that's right,
Veritas Radio, which you were on. Did a great job, by the way. Wanted to mention that. One side note, I thought one of the most profound things from this talk is bombs move markets. Honestly, John, I think that's got to get in the consciousness of everyone, but especially the people that take the time to watch, our conversations. And lastly, a side note, I almost interrupt you. I couldn't do it. I maintained myself, but my youngest niece was married at the Mackey Mansion in Crescent.
Oh, okay.
So I spent the night there, actually.
Okay.
And then the next day, at the beginning of the museum, there used to be at the time, there was a big block of tetrahedrite keeping the door open. And so I asked the guy, you know, of course, he didn't know me from some other, you know, person, didn't know how interested in the silver market I was. So I got kind of a personal tour like you did.
Okay, yeah.
Right there. So you were really pushing buttons when you were telling me about and all that. So if you don't mind, we've already gone, well, about 45 minutes or so. Do you want to tell me, give me some feedback? Do you have like 10 more minutes to go, or do we have enough material where you need another?
Just the when. I just want to talk about, because everyone says, when's this all going to happen? Because I can summarize and then give I did the why, the what, the who. Now I just got the when here, and that would take 5-10 minutes here.
Let's do it, Sean.
All right. So a lot here. This is one of those videos you're going to have to watch more than once. Okay. So we've got the big silver. We've got the silver Psyop. We've got the years going back to 1873. We've got the McKay Mansion. McKay Mansion, was it McKay? I forgot what it is.
McKay, I had to look it up, be sure I was right. My memory's good.
And the big yellow house. And that is where Ulysses S. Grant gave one of his speeches there on the balcony there at the McKay Mansion. Fascinating story there. That's really a nice little piece of information there, David. That is very cool. We've got the 16-year plan that started in 2008. So technically, if this plan is still in place, I think one of the wheels fell off when Trump came in. That means we're starting to see this thing start to wobble here. Now, this article I'm gonna read to you. This is only 4 hours old. I literally just found this from Market Insider. The UN found North Korea used millions of dollars of stolen crypto to fund its missile programs. Reports say, well, we know what the next headline is going to be. Crypto is a threat to human existence. It's a nuclear threat here. It's being used for nuclear terrorism here. We must bomb them. We must bomb their servers here. I can see the narrative building here. An article came out about 2 weeks ago saying that in the last year, $33 billion was scammed in crypto markets. And this goes back to what I said about this has been a wonderful tool. Crypto's been a wonderful tool. It's no longer, poppies in Afghanistan. This has been a wonderful tool to just suck cash out of the system. The hodlers, everyone just getting raped and it's not even in the news. It's unregulated. So no one really sees. What do you mean, John, $33 billion? What do you mean trillions? Look, I said, we're going to, this is like scammers heaven. Oh, I was just, and we've got what, the 10 nations that are wargaming the financial system. Wargaming, let's translate that into making withdrawals. So why not? It's unregulated. There's no enforcement, so I'm not surprised to see this, that North Korea. Now this is the UN though. Now see, now the UN is involved. It was IMF that said that Lagarde, who said full stop, Bitcoin is not a currency. Now the IMF is leaning on El Salvador. No more legal tender here. And just as I said in the conspiracy, Bitcoin is wreckable. Bitcoin is wrecked. It is going to be wrecked. And crypto is going to go right along with it. We didn't even mention Tether and the amount of fakeness in the volume in Bitcoin. So now what's happening, John? What's happening? That's 2022. What do you think is going to happen now? And I keep saying the same thing. Bombs move markets. You can see now they're closing in on Bitcoin. They're giving all the fuel together to the Fed to build the case, the IMF and everyone else that's just come in and just hammer Bitcoin. Now, if they don't hammer Bitcoin and they adopt it as a currency and force liquidate everyone into a forced conversion to Bitcoin, then we're in a world of shit. But if they come in and put the hammer down and regulate it into oblivion, and then basically grab all the money and say, we're going to have to, we might have to force convert these people into a new US digital coin. That would be the safest thing to do. Otherwise, North Korea is going to build more nuclear weapons. So that's one scenario here. But going back to the bombs move markets here, we're coming to the end game. The next two, actually, I'm saying the next 2 years, starting January 1st was the beginning of the last 2 years here. And now what have we had come that started since the beginning of the year? Bitcoin started going down. I made my call to sell Bitcoin at 66,666 on Reddit in October 2021. Now here, Bitcoin's coming down. It's got a nice big dead cat bounce going on. That means the tether's being printed. They're using tether to pump it up. People that are still in the mass formation psychosis. The silver Psyop, they don't know why. It just says it's FUD. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up because they don't know any other language. It's going up. It's FUD. It's going up. It's the future. But based on what I'm seeing and the thousands of emails and hundreds of direct messages saying sold my Bitcoin, bought silver, sold my Bitcoin, bought silver, and silver's going down. It's like the Psyop continues. It's not ready yet. People always ask me, when's it going to move? I said, just give it a little time. It's all about patience now. Now we're at that stage where they need the Fed needs an event to get out of a crisis. They need another crisis to take out Bitcoin so they can introduce, all the banks around the world can introduce their central sovereign digital coins. Japan mentioned with Mitsui that they were going to a gold-backed crypto. You're working with a gold-backed project, Load, David. Russia is now announcing a gold-backed ruble. And what Russia's got, 130 billion in gold? Low debt. I mean, Russia is, people talk about Nasara. Russia is already in Nasara. Hear that? Russia is already in Nasara. What do you mean? Just do a little research. It's already happening there. America needs to learn from Vladimir Putin. Less debt, more gold. Less debt, more gold. Very, very important here. Russian troll, Perez. No. You've watched my series on what's going to happen in Ukraine. We know what's going to happen there. So when, in this 2 years, we're going to see now the money's getting sucked out. It's all going to get sucked out. It's already being sucked out. This story right here just adds to my theory here that everybody's in on it, because the average person's like, well, John, the Fed's going to do this, the Bitcoin's going to do this. I said, this is the way it works in my world. In my world, you're looking at two heads of the same monster. Okay, it's a hydra. It's like the left-right pelogram, Bitcoin versus dollar. It's like, no, it's not Bitcoin versus, it's you and these people arguing about Bitcoin versus dollar. And then it's the people back here with the big shadow hand running the show. And everyone's arguing between the two of them. And there's a few of us that actually know who's doing it all, have figured it out. Now, how do you promote your sovereign coin? You take out Bitcoin and you introduce your coin, because one person said, John, BTC, Bitcoin, stands for beta test coin. I was like, well, that makes sense to me. Well, they got the coin. The coin is gold. You type in Bitcoin, you get gold coins everywhere. It's all gold. Why is it gold? Why isn't it colored like a piece of, dog poop or something? Well, because we know gold has value, at least the visual, the shiny object. So that was part of the propaganda here, is convincing people that Bitcoin, John, is digital gold. No, it's not. It's not digital gold. So as things unfold, what are we watching? We see Ukraine and Russia ready to go. And what happens? Russia is announcing a sovereign coin. We see Russia being threatened with SWIFT, and Russia saying we have our own SWIFT with China. We have Biden who just printing money. But as he's printing money, money's getting sucked out that was printed earlier. Look at the polls on how many people took their unemployment and PPM checks and spent it on crypto. Well, it's a lot. It's over 60%. And now that money's starting to vaporize. It's being sucked out of the system. By who? By who? A big dark hand. Who? Go watch the Crypto Conspiracy series. Now, in the next 2 years, it's going to happen even quicker here now. What we're going to see now, this situation in Ukraine, the situation in North Korea is going to start to put upward pressure on gold and silver. People are looking at Bitcoin saying, maybe I don't want to buy any of this stuff here. And as I've said in the other series, that we would have a big margin call sell-off in Bitcoin. Once we break that 30,000, 29,000 level, we're going to see some big margin calls. And the company to keep a look at will be to watch MicroStrategy and see what the investors are. I'm sure they're all busy right now creating scenarios. Wallets are going to be, you're going to see wallets filling up here, coins being moved into this exchange. Everyone is strategizing right now. But John, Bitcoin's going up. I said, yes, I know. Sell into strength. Even the big traders know that. Sell into strength. This is probably their last chance to get out right now. So you're going to see wallets moving. Follow Crypto Whale on Twitter, Crypto Whale. People positioning themselves for the big dump on here. And when is it going to happen? Soon. When exactly? I'm never going to call a date because that is a worthless cause here. But it's such a big process. The end of the silver psyop is this. Bitcoin is going to do what silver did when it went to $50 and then went down. And you're going to see silver trend up. And then about the same time, you're going to see this conflict here move in the Ukraine. Then China and Taiwan, probably right after the Olympics, at or near the end of the Olympics, which is, I believe, February 22, February 22nd, February of this year. We're going to start to see these things start to unfold. Reality's coming in. Everyone knows there's something wrong with the market. Everyone knows this. Venezuela applied a 20% tax on all Bitcoin in Venezuela, of all places. They see it like, wow, let's tax Bitcoin. There's money. Well, Venezuela is basically telling you what the Fed's going to do. Well, if Venezuela is going to tax it for 20%, I believe it was Joe Biden said that they may tax up to 65 to 80% on Bitcoin. I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be a surprise. But I believe in the silver psyop, just like it went up in the beginning, side by side, silver got nuked, Bitcoin went up, mass formation psychosis. The hodlers are stuck. They're psychologically stuck in a military grade psyop, economic psyop that they cannot identify because it's too big. As what Peter Thiel called Bitcoin is a Chinese economic weapon. Now, I don't know what side of the fence he's on, but he described that one very, very good. Now, everyone's stuck in there. They're in hook, line, and sinker. We got this beautiful blow-off top called the Greater Fool Theory in motion. We got everyone piling into silver. I know it. People are buying silver. The talk, the chatter. Silver has become money now in the street. And I'm going to throw a little Basel III comment in there. As Bitcoin's still going up, Basel III, the rules of the game, whether it started January 1st or next year, doesn't matter. They're going to make gold a tier 1 asset. So if gold is a tier 1 asset based on Basel III, guess what by default, silver becomes a tier 1 asset of money in the street. How do you like that? Tier 1 on the banks. Well, forget the banks. How about tier 1 on the street? You go to a silver store, you go to a silver convention, you talk to anyone on silver is money. And you mentioned silver and lights go on and people want to talk silver, 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 silver. So on the street, silver is already a tier 1 asset because people in the street know this system's ending here. Gold, silver, gold, silver. It's like, well, we see what the central banks, what have they been doing for 10 years? They're in December 2021, central banks they're at their 31-year highs of gold holdings. But I thought Basel III doesn't kick in until later. It's like, yeah, but the banks, these are operations these are 10, 15-year operations that are designed to affect whole economies 20, 30 years out, like Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods ending here. So here we've got the silver psyop is near its end where Bitcoin's going to get pulled back. They're going to wreck it. They're going to introduce their coins here. Gold and silver are going to take the front row seats. I'm going to say gold is going to take the front row seats where silver will be in the shadows, ready to pounce, go back to its normal, original ratio. But what is it happening? It's happening right now. It's happening right now. And it's almost like looking at the sky, you're walking around, you see the clouds in the sky. They look like they're sitting still. But you remember as a kid, you'd lay down in the grass on for me, Southern California day, laying down in some Bermuda grass, and you stare at the sky, and all of a sudden, all the clouds are moving. The clouds are moving. And that's what's happening in the financial space. People are walking around their cell phones. They see clouds. They're not really looking at it. But when you stop and lay down on the earth and you look straight up, you realize those clouds are moving. Everything has been moving the whole time here. So we're just in the final phases of pulling money out. If they freeze crypto, the market cap of this morning is $2 trillion. That's money that would have normally gone into silver and gold. It's not going to go in. When they freeze it, it will not be able to go in. And so it has a multi-prong effect. It takes the money off the market of speculative money from going into precious metals. Number two, it sucks more money out of the market from causing more inflation, because what's been driving up everything? Inflation. A lot of people are buying things with Bitcoin. Well, part of the U.S. military I went into some details on this, is that they're specifically focusing U.S. military. Why is the military using software that I invested in and to hunt down crypto people? Because I knew back then, I knew back 4 years ago that this was going to happen. And I thought, what would be the best thing to be invest in? Well, it's like the, Levi Strauss, they made their money selling Levi's to all the miners. So I thought, well, why don't we make money on the software that's going to be used against all the crypto criminals? Because they're going to find them because they want their taxes. I don't know what the U.S. military wants, but it's not going to be too long where we hear that this same software is being used by the U.S. Treasury. I'm sure, in fact, I'll say this, it's been in use by the U.S. Treasury for a couple years. So all these things, I know it's a lot. It's coming into, we're in the last 2 years. We're going to see this is going to be all part of the destruction of the Fed as well as Bitcoin. And that's going to open the door for a completely new system here because, sometimes people ask me, so John, you're so against Bitcoin. You must be for the Federal Reserve and the fake fiat dollars. No, I'm not. I'm not for the pyramid on that piece of paper. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you what's going to happen because I've got a lot of people that are looking forward to this. And by the way, I don't make any money shorting Bitcoin. I don't short anything. I have no investment that makes money off the destruction of Bitcoin going down. But will I benefit possibly from that software? That's crypto forensic software? Probably, and I expect to, but that was my parameters for investing in. I thought this would be like being, Levi Strauss selling jeans to miners. I'm going to invest in software, learning to hunt down trillions of dollars of money because we know it's connected to Epstein. So this is all happening right now, David. And this week, I think we're going to see events coming out of the UK, big events. We got problems with the Queen, the Canadian truckers. That's a major, major event. Is Trudeau going to survive this? I don't think he's going to survive. Trudeau won't survive. It looks like there's a masked guy in there already. There's a new guy on. It's like, this doesn't look like Trudeau. Just like Biden doesn't look like Biden. Biden reminds me of Jim Carrey in the courtroom scene from the movie Liar Liar. So all this is happening in here. And who's going to be the victims of this? We're going to see the people that lose, that go straight all out hodler, all out crypto, are the same people that say, well, you're a boomer. You don't understand crypto. It's like, I understand. I bought Litecoin at $12, at $16. Like, I don't understand it. I started researching Bitcoin at $1. I bought and traded and sold it. I have calls out there telling me, I think I made 7,000% on Litecoin in 2018 or 2019. I'll save. In fact, I'll save the screenshots for. Maybe I'll put them in the video here. I don't understand crypto. Yes, I do. I actually understand. I already know who started it. Their genetic DNA, far more than most people would ever believe. But the why, what, when. Right now, we're at that shifting point where we're going to start to see Bitcoin roll over through regulation and UN regulation. When the IMF threatens you, you're in big trouble here. When the UN says that crypto is being used for nuclear threats on the world, you're in big trouble here. The sign is on the wall here. When the Senate subcommittee finds out that up to 90% of the volume under Bitcoin and crypto is non-economic and fake, you're in big trouble here. This would be the equivalent of finding out that your silver was held in storage somewhere and you kept paying storage, as you said, David, and then you come in to collect it and the silver's gone. It's like, where did it go? It's like, oh, it vanished. It walked out the door on its own. But you said, it's like, you got to hold it. You got to hold it, and if you store it, then, preferably have it stored within driving distance where you can go an hour there and panic, but with the ending game right now, the when, we're looking at a 1929 style crash. What are they going to blame it on? They're going to blame something on Russia. There's going to be a mega false flag coming, and they're going to blame Russia. And when that crisis hits, stocks are going to make a 1929 crash. I think we could be 6 weeks away from that. Between February and March is a window I'm looking at. Very similar to what happened in March 2020. Remember when oil went to zero minus, and I saw some stocks go from $9 to 50 cents, bought the dip, and it ran back up. I don't think it's going to come back this time. I think the market's going to do exactly what Donald Trump described. He said that two things he said that are key here that will come true. He said that Bitcoin was a scam and that he preferred the dollar. And he also said if Joe Biden is elected and he taxes everyone, then the stock market's going to crash close to, if not worse than 1929. And he said it would be a terrible, terrible day to see. And now we're looking at this. The taxes are in talks here. They're coming. The regulations are coming here. We've got a crisis in Ukraine. We have food supply chain systems freezing up throughout Canada. Now the truckers are moving around the world as well as here in the United States. Silver is being sucked up. People are quietly taking up silver. People are prepping for something here. We see it coming here. But the one thing that stands out more than anything, and my specialty has been the situation with Russia and Ukraine. I can see right now by the rhetoric that I saw this morning, it's every hour it's coming out here because I'm covering this live 24/7 on Telegram. You can see that a false flag operation is about to be triggered here, but I believe there's going to be two of them. There's going to be one that gets everything going in Ukraine and Russia. And judging by the amount of troops and the types of weapons being sent out by the United States, nobody's interested in the West in defending and operating that military action there against Russia. It's a lost cause. Yeah, Russia is moving the borders back to 1997. And you heard that here. And what's going to happen is once that's going to go, then we're going to start to see some real activity on the outside. We could see for the first time in history a false flag that involves nuclear weapons or nuclear threats. And that's the one thing that's going to take everything out in the economic system except physical silver and physical gold in possession here. And that is happening right now. The end of the silver Psyop is going to be the collapse of everything, the destruction of Bitcoin and crypto for the introduction of the new sovereign coins, and silver heading to the heavens towards that original historical ratio with gold. I know it was a mouthful. I hope you got that one there.
Yeah, no. Well, as always, quite a lively conversation. And we'll end it there, John. I want to thank you for your time and your thought process. You certainly think outside the box, which few people do, and I appreciate it. And just the back and forth kind of synergies with the Mackay Mansion. Like I said, that's pretty interesting. When we get to sit down and side by side across the table from each other at some point in the future, we can chat about that among many other things. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Why don't you go out and give your your Telegram channel. Okay. And we'll wrap up Silver Psyop number 3.
Yes. I am on Telegram, and when everything goes blank and they go 0 day, 0 crypto day, everything goes blanked out, Telegram will be on. Dave's on Telegram. I'm on Telegram. And Telegram, it's uncensored. It's great. It's fun. There's a lot of conversation on there. I have a Silver is Money channel. I have a Silver is Money news channel. And I've got a Real Estate 911 channel, which is pretty much, real estate 911 crash channel, Real Estate 911. And then the silver gold stocks, which is people that are interested in buying and investing in the gold stock sector there. So Silver is Money on Telegram. Very active, 24/7. It's worldwide. We have people from, I'm thinking we're close to 38 nations that are following us that are very active. And it's a wonderful, wonderful channel. It's well managed, and it's kept clean and scrubbed. So there's, try to keep it as good as possible. Silver is Money on Telegram is the place to be. And when everything goes black, Telegram will still be on. I'll be on too.
We'll leave it there. Thank you again. We'll be back with more from John Perez, and I'm sure the not too distant future. Thank you, John. Make a great day.
All right. Thank you.